welcome back to my channel. My name is Letitia Iona, and I am a faith-based woman's life coach. I teach women how to thrive, not just survive in the midst of life's challenges. So I just got home from work. It's been an extremely long day, and then I had a doctor's appointment. I'll probably do a video about that later, but I was there for an hour and a half. I got there 15 minutes early, and it's a woman's doctor, and so there were pregnant women there, and so they had two emergencies. I don't know if somebody went to labor, I don't know what was going on, but eventually I just put my head down and I went to sleep. And then I asked them how much longer. I probably waited another 20, 30 minutes after that. And so I went over to the couch and I fell asleep. I completely fell asleep. They called me just to see if I was still there. Nobody else was in the room. So anyways, I stopped at Chick-fil-A and got some dinner, just something to eat while I'm driving home. And I talked to my best friend. And so I'm ready to get in my bed. But I wanted to do this video and talk about the lessons that I've learned in starting over. If this is your first time on my channel, first time seeing my video, just a little quick history. I recently, going on 8 months ago, left my home, left my marriage. And there's a whole tremendous backstory. If you check out the last video that I posted, which is a pretty lengthy one, I talk a little bit about some of the things that came out of that in relation to kindness, being kind to someone who is purposefully hurting you, someone who's toxic and abusive. It's a fantastic video, so I would encourage you to check it out. So I was in a extremely verbally abusive marriage for 3 years. And when I finally made the decision to leave, there were other elements that really encouraged me and pushed me to go. But when I finally started packing my stuff and leaving, I have to tell you, the fears were so high. For months, for years, I knew that the marriage was not sustainable. I was being told in a very verbally abusive way that it would not last. So much negative talk was going on in the moments of outbursts, anger. I called them episodes. And so I knew that this person was finally going to get what they so angrily told me often. And I remember just being overwhelmed by that thought every time it came up. And I'm thinking, okay, I moved to this new state from California, Tennessee. I met what I thought was a wonderful man. Within 3 or 4 months of moving here, 5 or 6 months later, we got married. Now I have this new life. I have this wonderful husband, and now you don't want to be married anymore. You aren't going to do anything to fight for your marriage. I mean, you're going to do things, but they're not really going to mean anything in the long term. And so having to grapple with, so I'm going to have to start all over again. I literally gave up my home to move into his home, because for a while we lived together in my home, but he still had his home. But I was renting and he owned his. So it just made sense that I would give up my lease and move into the home with my husband. But that was one of the main things that I gave up. And so I really felt jaded. I really felt betrayed. I've moved my entire life into your home, and now you don't want this marriage. And so I often thought about, I'm going to have to start over. And I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know what that's going to feel like. I don't know where me and my daughter are going to land. I don't know what that's going to do to my finances. Like, it was hard. And when I finally decided to leave, I kid you not, I didn't know where I was going. So believe it or not, I had boxes in the garage. I didn't know when I was going to start feeling them. But it was crazy because at work we get snacks for the kids. And the lady who passes them out, she had them outside of her office. And I would pass those boxes every day thinking, you should take those boxes. You're probably going to need them eventually. And I didn't want those boxes. And I remember I was talking to the custodian who I've become friends with, and I was telling her about my situation. And so she was like, you better get the boxes. And I was like, no, I don't want those boxes. And so eventually I took some of them, and I don't know how she found out that I needed boxes, but then at one point she started leaving them in front of my classroom. And I was like, I want these ding dang boxes. Because they just reminded me that my situation was going to change and it was coming to an end. And so she kept doing it because she was trying to get rid of the boxes. She just kept leaving them. And I finally was like, okay, don't give me any more boxes. And then I put some in my storage room and I took some home. Well, eventually, the night I decided to leave, I went outside, went into the garage, got the boxes, threw them in the house, and started packing. Not just like bam, 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 bam. I packed. I got newspaper. I covered up, dishes. I went through stuff. I mean, it was a full on move. It wasn't just this quick move. And it probably took me a week and a half, but I just started packing. And when I started packing, I did not have a place that we were going. And some time during that first week, I found a place and I went ahead, and me and my daughter, we went and looked at it. It was beautiful, but I was just like, I don't even know how we're going to get it. I didn't even have enough money at the time to make a deposit to get into the place. But the Lord provided. My family helped me. I had some money, saved. And so I was able to take some of that out. And literally probably 2 days before we actually moved, everything was in place. I had movers. One of my friends came and helped. Everything was packed. When I applied for this place, I didn't even know till 2 days before we moved that they had actually accepted my application. I didn't even know. There was some miscommunication, or I didn't get the email, and all of a sudden, boom, they're like, you can move in. And I wanted to move in the same day that I got that email, but I had to wait a couple of days. And you can imagine the tension that was in that house. All that to say, I feared so much. But as soon as I started putting one foot in front of the other, it's like, they say, if you build it, they will come. God needed me to start making hard choices to start moving forward out of that situation. And up until then, I was collecting things. In fact, I see things all the time that I'm like, I put this thing in place because I knew that the end was coming. In fact, probably a month or two before we actually moved, I bought a TV. I didn't own a TV. I had a TV, but I had recently sold it. It was like small. But I bought a new TV because I was like, we can't move into a place and not have a TV. What kind of animals are we? We very much watched a lot of TV in that house. But just these bins. In fact, my ex was with me when I bought these bins. And I told him I needed the bins so that I could organize some of the stuff in the garage. I would look at those bins anytime I went to our garage, and I would just think, I need to start getting ready to go. There are a lot of things that I did, unbeknownst to anybody, that I was doing to prepare to leave. And so, all that to say, you cannot start over without letting something go. And I had to let go of that relationship. I had to let go of that marriage. I had to let go of my home. I had to let go of the hope that we were going to do better, that he was going to get better, that all of his, negative behavior and vices and all those things, that he was going to heal, that he was going to let those things go for the sake of our relationship. I had to let that go. And let me tell you, that was hard. But once I started taking little steps, because I didn't move right away, and I'm so grateful that God gave me that time to pack. I was at home every day by myself. I didn't go to work for 3 days. I would go to work, I would come home and I would pack. And then for 3 days, I didn't go to work. I just packed all day. In fact, I took a class one of the weekends. That Saturday before we moved, I took a class for work. I got like professional development credit, but I had signed up for it previous to all of this. I had my camera off, it was on Zoom, and I was just packing all day while I was listening, learning things, taking notes. It's incredible what you can do if you just take little steps and keep moving forward. But you do have to let things go. And there was a lot of things. I had to let go of the fear that we weren't going to land on the other side. I had to let go of believing that I was in control and that I was going to figure, like it was all on me. It wasn't. God took care of us. God had this place for us a long time ago. In fact, this place, I think, had been sitting here for a while. And it's about 5 minutes from where we were living. It was just sitting here all along. And it's perfect. It's perfect. I thought for sure I'd end up in, a 1-bedroom apartment, not in the best neighborhood, not in the best condition. This place is beautiful and not very old. Everything is clean and new and modern. It's like a huge upgrade from where I was living before. That's amazing. But just imagine if I was still fighting for that marriage, still fighting for that relationship, still fighting to stay in that home. I wouldn't have experienced all of this. When you become comfortable with something, even if it's not good for you, it's hard to let it go because change is scary and uncertainty is scary. You think, yeah, the situation may not be great, but what if it's 10 times worse on the other side? Fear alone can hold us back from the very thing that God is trying to bring us into. Sometimes we hold on just because you have control, right? You can protect yourself in this situation. It may be uncertain and unpredictable, but at least you know that it's the unpredictability and uncertainty might be. I remember I would come home from work and I was always hoping that I would get home before him. There was a certain spot on the road that my stomach would just start, I would get butterflies, not the romantic I'm in love butterflies, but the like, I don't know what's waiting for me at home. But if I got home before he did, I would hop out of the car, grab my stuff, put it away, feed myself, get in the shower, get dressed for bed, and I would get in the bed as quickly as I could because that was a form of protection for me. Even if I didn't know who was walking through the door, at least I was ready for it. I was mentally, emotionally, even physically ready for it. But that became familiar to me. I could control my body, myself, the way I protected myself. And familiar can start to feel safe, even when it's not. Comfort can also keep you stuck. Sometimes comfort isn't peace, it's false peace. It's just what you're used to. And that kind of comfort can keep you stuck in the very thing that might be destroying you. It took me a long time to realize that letting go doesn't mean I'm losing control. It meant trusting God more and realizing that I'm not in control. When we stay in a place that God has been trying to move us out of, we miss the possibility of what He has for us on the other side. Part of getting to the other side in a healthy way is you must go through it. You cannot go over it. You cannot go under it. Just imagine if I, let's say, left that relationship, left that marriage, and moved in with an unhealthy person, maybe a boyfriend or a family that was toxic. I don't know, any kind of a situation. That would be me just going over it because I'm going into something else, so I don't really have to deal with anything. But this way, packing, preparing, letting go, taking those steps every day was actually going through it. Because once I landed here, I had to feel everything. There was nothing distracting me from what had just happened and what was actually happening. Lesson number 3, circumstances are temporary, and we often hold back or make decisions on temporary circumstances. We make up so many stories, so many narratives that tell us, okay, this is the end. I'll never recover. It's never going to get better, which is not good. Telling yourself negative things will keep you stuck. But the truth is, things change. Circumstances are temporary, they don't stay the same. If you make a permanent decision in a temporary moment, you're doing yourself a disservice. Don't let fear make the final call. Keep going. Get to the other side, go through it. Your circumstances are going to change. Number 4, you have permission to begin again. If you leave something that is hurting you, destroying you, you have permission to start over again. You have permission to start afresh. You know what? That decision was not good. I'm going to try this again. I'm going to start all over again and I'm going to try it. Do it. Do it. Learn something from that mistake and move forward. Starting over isn't a failure. And I had to figure that out because at my age, starting afresh felt like a failure, but it wasn't. See, the strength was in being able to start again. If I just didn't even try, didn't even make any hard choices to move forward, that would be failure. But picking myself up, finding a way to move, finding a way to take care of me and my daughter and start afresh in this wonderful place, that's strength. And that should be celebrated. I mean, hello, when I moved here, I had to buy so much stuff. I mean, what woman doesn't like shopping? What woman doesn't like bargain shopping, right? I was at Home Goods. I was at TJ Maxx. I was my favorite places. I was at Ross finding wonderful finds for my home that were inexpensive. How exciting is that? I don't have to spend thousands of dollars. I'm very creative and I even bought these beautiful chairs downstairs. Oh my goodness. They were used, but they were in great condition. And I cleaned them and took all the cushion out. That was crazy. And I love it. I love it. And I get to look at those chairs and be so proud. I did that. I made something old beautiful for my home to take care of me and my daughter. It was fun. It was fun that I had to go and get stuff for the kitchen because there were things that I didn't have. It was fun that I had to decorate my bedroom. I got to get a whole new bed and a mattress, and some of the things that I had, they just weren't good. I had to sell them. I got to choose everything in my home. I got to decorate it exactly the way I wanted it to be. I got to put beautiful things on the wall. I got to put encouraging things on the wall. I got to create a safe space for me and my daughter that nobody can touch. I am very, very particular about who comes into our home and what we bring into this home. I have laid down the law with my daughter. There will be no screaming and anger and drama. None of that in this home. This is a place of peace. I've named so many things like my garage name and different things. Home of peace. Peace. This is what I declare that our home is. And I got to create this space. This is mine. It belongs to me. This fresh start represents freedom. And it also shows a woman who has survived hell. It wasn't hell just being in the relationship. It was hell coming out of that relationship. Things that I may never even share, but hell. I gave myself, when I left, the freedom to choose. I gave myself the freedom to breathe. I gave myself the freedom to begin again. And that's what I want to tell you. You have permission to start over. If that's where you are, if you're looking for someone to say, you can start over, I'm giving you permission. Even if you're older, even if you feel like you failed, even if you've been hurt, you are allowed to rebuild your life from the ground up. And guess what? God will meet you right where you are. I prayed and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed for God to cover us, to protect us, to lead me, to give me wisdom, to provide everything we needed. And He has provided everything and 10 times more. Lesson number 5, the scariest things become the biggest blessings. Like I just mentioned, you got to go through it. You can't go around it. You can't go over it. You must go through it. And I guarantee there's a blessing on the other side. Starting over is scary, absolutely. But sometimes the scariest things turn out to be the biggest blessings. If you're standing on the edge of something new, wondering if it's going to be worth it, wondering if you are going to land on your feet, I promise you, peace is waiting on the other side of obedience. God came to give us life and to give us life more abundantly. None of His children will be begging for bread. You may be down and out. You may even be living in a homeless shelter. But let me tell you, you'll have peace. Don't be afraid to release what's behind you. Don't be afraid. Because what's ahead might just be the new beginning that you've been praying for, and it's here. It may not look the way you thought it was going to look, but it's here. Keep going. Keep taking those steps. Thank you so much for watching and spending time with me. These stories come from the bottom of my heart, and I share them because I want women to know it's okay. You're not alone. I've been there. I have felt that pain. But let me tell you, there is peace on the other side. But it's not easy to get there. It's not going to be handed to you on a silver platter. You got to go get your peace. And part of that is letting go, moving forward, and not staying in your circumstances that most likely is temporary. If this video encouraged you, please like this video. Like it, comment, and share with someone who might need the reminder that it's never too late to start again. Until next time, bye.